Thank you, sir. Okay, we're live, John.
Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Docg and John T presents. Yeah, we've got some good stuff going on. We always seem to, and we've got some good friends that we've talked to from across the Atlantic, and we've got another one with us here today, Pat Mcmanus of the Pat Mcmanus Band, Mama's Boys, and numerous other musical acts through the years. Pat, welcome. Hello, and thanks for being on Doc G and John T Presents.
It's a pleasure to be talking to you.
Fantastic then. Hey, first of all are things in Ireland right about now? Talk to me about that. I've got some Irish in me. I'm told I'm about a third Irish, and I have got to get there. How are things in your neck of the woods?
Not too bad at the moment. Everybody is getting. It's beginning. Things are beginning to loosen up a little bit here with the lockdown situation that practically the whole world has been in. But we are taking tentative and careful steps to getting back out on the road again and doing some shows. Some of the live venues are opening up again here, which is fantastic news for musicians in general and for people who go to the shows, that at least they're fit to get back out, somewhat socially distanced, but at least it's in the right direction at the moment. So things are looking good here at the moment.
Boy, that's fantastic. I saw that, I guess recently there was a show that had to be scrapped and rescheduled. I mean, it's still going on here as well. It's, things like that they just crop up and pop up, and what, probably like what you're doing there, we all just adapt, adjust, improvise, and overcome. And it's getting a little easier, like you say, with every passing day and every passing week. I had a chance to really get a good listen to some of your music, and I have to say, I enjoyed it. I don't know if it's like the Celtic undercurrents, so to speak, or the hard driving rock. I love the fiddle, but I love that. Oh, I just love the hard drive as well. Tell us about what the Pat Mcmanus Band is up to, or going to be up to, as time unfolds.
Well, I'm getting geared up. I'm busy to promote, hopefully, and get out there and play the new album live. I did the album during the lockdown period where everybody couldn't really move here at all.
Right.
So for me, I had downtime, and it gave me a chance to actually get some songs together. And I have a little studio here that I demo my stuff. I played everything on it myself. So, and then when I felt the songs were in ready and ready to go, I booked the studio, which we do pretty quickly. I don't like to spend too much time, deliberating and doing the tracks. I try to get the band into the studio. We try and put down the tracks as quickly as we possibly can.
Sure.
The feeling and the spirit of the band alive, because we're a three-piece hard rock blues band essentially, right? So when we go into the studio, we try to capture that as best we can, because when people come to the shows, then we can emulate pretty much what they hear on the album. So it was a busy time for me during the lockdown, trying to get the songs together and then find the time to get to the studio. But once we get to the studio, we put it down pretty quickly. I think I did the entire album in 10 days,
Wow.
So it was from beginning to end, And as I said, we don't try to overproduce the albums. I like to give them, as a three-piece band would be like, we try and lay it down pretty quickly and pretty honestly, and just try and capture the feeling of the band playing live in the studio, So, and then of course we will do a few overdubs and stuff like that where it's needed. But essentially, it's just the band in the studio playing, and try to capture that energy, because when we play live, there's a lot of energy in our shows, So it's capturing that in the studio is quite difficult to do. But
Right.
we try to manage it as best we can, and I was very happy with the results and the way that it actually turned out in the end.
That's the ticket, Pat. I have to say, and in seeing some of the live performances, even on YouTube, what a great vibe! I mean, it's just a good musical experience. I mean, to me, it's every music is subjective, but I have to tell you, if anybody is into a good, you know. To me, a good hard pounding blues rock, with a little again of that undercurrent of Irishness thrown in for good measure. I have to say, I sat here for a while and I really truly enjoyed it because I wanted to make sure I was up to speed before we spoke. And you're also correct in that so many people, and I've heard this for years and years, well, I went to the show, to see so and so, and boy, it really didn't sound a lot like what I expected. Well, because you heard one thing and you heard the live thing, and sometimes they don't jive. But I like the fact that as you say, the audience when you're live will recognize so many things from the studio. That's outstanding. I'm glad you had. I'm sorry we had time for you to do that, but I'm glad that you had the time to do that, get it together so well, so quickly, and so thoroughly, which is nice. Gene, what do you think?
Hey, Pat, I just wanted to ask you a couple questions. Of course, I'm Docg, and I run Hamilton Radio, and I work with John T. The origins of your music career is unbelievable. Can you take me through some of that in a summary, like who you've been with, the guy from Thin Lizzy? You've been with so many different other bands and stuff like that. Can you take me through that, a little bit of that time?
Well, we were very fortunate in the very early days that I formed the band. I grew up playing traditional Irish folk music, right?
Right.
So that was I started on the violin when I was very, very young, and one thing led to another. And as I got a little bit older, I got interested in the guitar, and so me and my brothers, because we're from a farm in the northwest of Ireland. There was no one else to form a band, so I formed a band with my brothers, my younger brothers. And it was during the very early process of the band, we got to play at what they call a matchmaking festival in the west of Ireland, right?
Okay.
And funnily enough, Philip Limit from Thin Lizzy was actually playing the same festival as a solo artist, right? He was promoting a solo album that he had out at the time, and he actually heard us playing that afternoon. We were on very early in the afternoon, and he came over to us and said, "Hey, you guys are really good." He said, "We're Thin Lizzy are getting ready to have a farewell tour as they were stopping at the time, and they're coming to the end of the road with that version of Thin Lizzy." And he said, "Would you guys like to do it?" And really, that was the momentum. That was the thing that really kick-started our band.
Wow.
Was that Philip took us on tour with him throughout the UK, Ireland, and Europe for 3 months, and that really gave our little band the exposure and sort of led us down the rock and roll road, really, and we learned a lot from being with Philip on the road and watching a true star every night playing. It made a huge impact on us as young guys. I mean, we were already fans of Thin Lizzy anyhow.
Sure.
So we got to see it every night, and we learned a hell of a lot about stagecraft and how to present the band. Philip would come in and tell us what he thought we'd done right and what we'd done wrong. And really, he was like, yeah, really, he genuinely did. And he was like a father figure on that tour, a wonderful person. And, he knew how difficult it was for a young Irish band to make it out of Ireland, because, we had the troubles here in Northern Ireland at the time, and it was difficult, for bands to get A&R men interested to come over here. They didn't want to come over here because it was scary, so they tended to give us a wide berth, so to speak. So we were very fortunate that Philip kind of led the way there and helped us get albums ourselves. This was unheard of in the very early days, in when we were starting out, particularly sort of in the very late 70s, early 80s. No one was doing that. You know, they'd either make a demo tape and send it into their radio station or send it to a producer or a record company. But we actually went into the studio and recorded our first album called The Official Bootleg in a day, right?
Oh my!
We had no experience either, so it was our first time in the studio, and it was a real learning curve. But up to that point, we then saved enough money up to make a couple of albums like that, and that helped get us exposure in England, and at least we had something to you know, it was a talking point. You know, where does this band come from? You know, what's the story here? You know, and they said, well, they have an album out, and they're going, what? These guys have an album. What they didn't know was that we had no record company out. We actually did it ourselves, which was, I suppose, in many ways, was quite a brave thing to do. You know, because you know those early albums lacked production values and stuff like that. There, we just didn't know anything about that. But you know, it got the band noticed, and it brought us to the attention of Philip and Thin Lizzy, and they allowed us on that tour. And then the bigger record companies got interested because we were on that tour, and they actually were fit to come to some of the shows in the UK and see us play. And that's when we sort of signed our first major deal to Jive Records in England, and also Arista in America. So that really set the ball rolling for us. So that's a kind of a quick synopsis of the band, you know. So, and because of that, then we got to tour with the likes of Rat and Bon Jovi and Twisted Sister and Rush, and in America. It was it was an awesome time for us, you know, and it was a wonderful experience being over in America, because you know it's the home of rock and roll. Let's face it, you know. So it was lovely to be fit to go over there and play to the people there and build up a lifelong following, you know, which was, to me, I'll never forget that, a tremendous moment for the band and our careers.
Yeah, and you're such an incredible musician. You play not only guitar, you play the fiddle, and could you tell us some of the instruments you play?
I play bouzouki and mandola and all sort of strange instruments. I'll have a go at them, you know. and I try and incorporate them subtly on the albums, because I don't want to feature them too much, because we are a three-piece band. You know, if I stop playing the guitar, you know, there are moments in the set when I do lift up the fiddle and play it, you know, but we have to be very careful how we do it, because I don't have a backup instrument, if you know what I mean, or another musician backing me. I've just got the bass and drums then. So it's carefully thought out when I go into the studio, you know, if I'm going to use those instruments, as they're mostly used as a little texture thing, and it brings out the sort of Celtic feel as well that the band have, because let's face it, I grew up playing folk music, and you know, I'm completely self-taught on the guitar. So what I did was I transferred whatever knowledge I had on the violin, I transferred it across to the guitar, and that was the only really thing I could do at the time, because I didn't have anybody to teach me. I didn't have anybody to show me. There was no teachers to show you how to play guitar where I'm from, you know. So you just had to learn, you know, and so by yourself. So I sort of taught myself from records, and then from what knowledge I had on the violin, I just tried and transferred that across to the guitar. So my guitar playing developed out of my violin skills, and I got pretty good on the violin when I was young, you know, and I used to enter all these competitions to play traditional Irish music, and quite a few of them I was fortunate enough to win. So I was confident enough in my violin playing to allow me to use some of that knowledge to play guitar. So that's really how I got started on the guitar. And as I said, I'm completely self-taught. So it sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's a bad thing, you know. But in general, I'm always striving to try and emulate what I do on the violin, and I kind of look for melody in my lead playing and soloing and stuff like that. It always comes from the background of the violin.
Beautiful. John, do you have any questions for?
I'm just going to say, did I read it right on? Let's see. I'm trying to think when it says here, Pat Mcmanus live at the 25th Vibe. Did I get it right that on the violin on the Black Rose, were you playing a little bit of Oh Danny Boy?
Oh yes, oh yes.
Not the pipes, but the
You're not
strings. The
going
strings
so.
were calling.
I actually did, because if you listen to the original Thin Lizzy Black Rose album, they have a little bit of Danny Boy in it. So I thought it would be nice to go back to the very organic way that Danny Boy would have been played
Yep.
in Ireland on the violin, and it was a nice change, because I think we possibly did the track in homage to Philip,
Yeah.
who was the vibe was for. We've had that vibe in Ireland for many years, sadly since Philip passed away. So it's to commemorate Philip and to commemorate his music and the legacy that he left behind. So yes, you're right. There was a little bit of Danny Boy in there.
And again, it's only these last, I'm going to say 4 or 5 years that I even discovered, thanks to the good people at Ancestry.com, no plug, just saying, that I just discovered that I do have, again, about a third of me is Irish. And boy, I tell you, it just hit me nicely, that intro. So, good that I got that one.
It's in your blood. It's in your soul.
Yeah, that's what we were saying before you called. I was telling it to Docg here. I said, if I'm not missing my musical guess here, I'm thinking it was a little Danny Boy. Well, John, it's maybe in your blood.
It's interesting because my dad actually was born in New York.
Oh,
that is
wow.
Of Irish parents, yeah. He was born in New York, and they did the very strange thing. They actually came back to Ireland.
Oh.
So, when my dad was growing up, he left when he was about 13, I think. I think I remember him telling me. But he remembered, there was always a very eclectic mix of music in our house, from Dixieland jazz to blues to. So, I think he said when he was growing up, he heard all that type of music being played.
Yeah.
So those records were in our house. So we were very open to all sorts of various types of music. And when I heard the blues, and it's a roots music, and I could identify with that because Irish music's a root music, and there's a common thread goes through all of that indigenous music. I feel it, and I can, and I think a lot of people can as well. Like you just said, it's in your blood, somewhere in there in your bones. You can feel it, and that's what I love about the blues rock that I play, and the blues in general, is that it's in your DNA. You can't explain it, but it's there.
It's just a thing. I mean, who knew? I love it though. Tell me, and I like to ask this question whenever especially when we speak to folks in the music business and any sort of entertainment. Tell about some of the people who you've worked with or collaborated with or even just bumped into, for whatever reason. Tell me about some of the people who were really some of the good folks, the good people.
Through time, I've come across a lot of musicians, and I've collaborated and guested on many albums, too numerous to mention, really.
Right.
Everything from traditional Irish folk musicians to people like Tricky from Massive Attack, which is really alternative music, and it went right across the board, So I've been very fortunate. I've done sessions for different people as well, including Tom Jones, Gilbert O'Sullivan. It's right across the board, and it for me, it's a great experience and a great honor to meet these people, and of course, on the road you meet many bands,
Of course.
and artists that you are into, and artists that you look up to and admire. And I've been very fortunate on a lot of instances to meet a lot of my guitar heroes. I've toured with Gary Moore extensively,
Right.
with the great one and only Rory Gallagher. I'm fortunate enough to do festivals with him, and these were my heroes growing up, and I remember playing one night in Sweden with my brothers, and I look at the side of the stage, and who's standing watching us? Only Richie Blackmore from Deep Purple, and
Oh, wow.
Wow.
it's crazy moments like that are things I will never forget, and are etched in my memory forever. So, I've come across some great musicians, very, very humble musicians, and it makes it encourages us so much, and they encouraged me as a younger musician at the time to get out there and believe in yourself and do it.
That's outstanding. You mentioned Gary Moore, and just coincidentally, I had a similar situation with one of our previous guests, who mentioned another artist from the group New England. But I went to a small little university out in central Pennsylvania, Susquehanna University. It's about a 50, 60 mile north of Harrisburg, which is the state capital. And you know what, Pat? When I was there from 82 to 86, there might have been maybe 1,400 people at the whole place. But we had and they still do, a really heck of a radio station, college radio station. And this had occurred before my arrival. I'm going to say between 80 and 81. Um, whenever whenever they would get somebody either in person when they had done a show, or over the phone saying, "Hi, this is so and so from such and such a band, and you're listening to WQSU, Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania." Pow! And we would. It was a college station, so of course there's no commercials. Maybe a PSA about don't do drugs or join the Air Force. But one of the breakers that we had was, "Hello, this is Gary Moore, and you're listening to 88.9 WQSU." Pow! And then I would play a Gary Moore song. I mean, just, I think I 17 years old, a freshman in college. I didn't know Gary Moore, the musician, from Gary Moore, the game show host back in the 50s and 60s. Well, I quickly realized that there was a big difference. And it's just very cool that you had a lot of time to interact and do with him. That kind of, it's a small world, Pat. It is just a very small
Yeah,
world.
it's quite amazing. And sadly, I spoke to Gary about 6 months before he passed away.
Oh,
He
Oh,
actually was in
nuts.
the house, and we had a little conversation. I hadn't seen him since we'd done the tour together back in '85, and it was a sad loss to the guitar community and to the whole world, as regards one of the finest musicians that ever came out of Ireland. He was a force unto himself, really. And it was nice. Just that's my memory of just having a little conversation with him
Of course.
before 6 months before he passed away. And he was in great form, and he was over in Ireland doing a couple of shows, and I just spoke to him briefly, and he was talking about his latest album at the time, and he was just as excited as as ever, as a young kid, about his new album coming out. And it was lovely to speak to him, and it was, he was one of the inspirations when I was growing up to actually learn the guitar, and I looked up to him so much. Him and Rory Gallagher,
Right.
both of those guys, they set the what you would once say, they set the benchmark for every other player in the UK at that time, because they really were. I mean, I'm going to take a quote from Jimi Hendrix when he played the Isle of Wight festival. They
Oh, yeah.
asked some journalist asked Jimmy what was it like to be the world's greatest rock guitar player, and he says, "I don't know. Go ask Rory Gallagher." So I think
Wow.
that says something.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
that is apparently he really said that. So those guys. When people say to me, who were your influences, and I always say, well, they were all Irish for a start. There was Rory Gallagher, Gary Moore, Eric Bell from Thin Lizzy. So there were fantastic guys to look up to, and fantastic musicians. And humble people as well. They were just lovely. I got to meet those guys, and they were just lovely people to meet and chat and talk to face to face. There was no arrogance or rock star about them at
right,
all. They were just
right.
lovely, normal people who were into their music. The music came first and foremost with them.
Well, Pat,
Well,
I gotta add something there to that because I talked to Dave Mason a while ago, from Traffic, and he said the same thing that you just said about Roy, because he said to Jimi Hendrix, he says, "You're the best guitar player in the world." He said, "No, no, no, don't ask me. Talk to Dave Mason." And Dave's like, "Wait a minute. No, I'm not as good as him." But again, it depends on perspective and who you're talking to at the time. Because Eric Clapton said the same thing about George Harrison, and George Harrison said the same thing about Eric Clapton. So I guess it's more of a what you represent, and maybe the music, your style. If it's more bluesy, if it's more rocky, it's a little bit of everything. I think BB King as well.
Yeah. Oh well, Baby was there's a benchmark for you. One of the greatest ever.
Yep.
You just hear one note from Baby and you know exactly who it is. But there's so many great musicians like that, and I think if you're really serious about your art, you will admire and listen to other players, and you really get off on the ability that those guys have. So it doesn't surprise me that they say things like that.
Well,
Because,
they're so humble.
In the eyes of a musician, you're always struggling to try and make yourself better. I sometimes I go onto YouTube and I see some of the players playing, and I just think, wow, these guys are just on another planet.
Yeah.
So, no matter how good you think you are, there's always somebody better than you. It doesn't matter in what walk of life you're doing. There's always somebody out there. There's somebody out there that it will make you strive then to become better. You go when you go. I got to go back in and practice now.
Now, are you friends with any other? Hold on, John. Are you friends with any other fiddle players or violinists? Because I know violin and fiddle is virtually the same. It's just one called something different. But at the same time, there's so many different. You got Eddie Jobson from UK, and of course King Crimson, and you got Mick Kaminsky from ELO, and you've got tons of people out there that really, really play the violin as well as the fiddle.
That's right. I mean, it's the same instrument. If you're a folk artist or maybe a country player, you will call it a fiddle. If you're a classical player, you would call it a violin.
Right.
Correct.
No, you're absolutely right. And I didn't want to leave Robbie Steinhardt from Kansas out because he was another great virtual, fiddle player.
Oh yeah, man!
Well.
When I heard those guys play, and I was a huge fan of Eddie Jobson, huge UK fan, of the band.
Me
UK.
too.
And I loved what Eddie did, and then he went on. I think he worked with Jethro Tull for quite some time as well.
Yes, he did.
Yep. And he brought a different dimension altogether. So I was a huge fan of Eddie Jobson. I just think a musical genius, really.
Unbelievable.
I had the chance. Speaking of the fiddle, I had the chance 2 times. I'm going to say in the mid 80s and maybe the very early 90s to see the likes of, here we go, Charlie Daniels. And there's a guy, there is a guy, who, you said it, Pat. Oh, wow. That's pretty much what I thought. Both times I had the opportunity to see him and his band, and it's just, I'm a bit of a musician, or at least was, in my younger days, whether it was, piano and keyboards, or in junior high and high school, the stage band, I played clarinet, or even after, through college and even after doing some singing. But you know what? I'm a piker compared to these guys. I couldn't even approach something with strings and do anything with it for some reason. I always wanted to, but all these folks, that you and and Docg have been mentioning, and plus the likes of a Charlie Daniels, and then living so close to New York City, people like Itzhak Perlman, Yo-Yo Ma, on the cello and so forth. That piece of musicianship has always just amazed me, probably because I can't do it. And it all looks so easy when you folks
like Charlie Daniels and that they wrote the book, and they incorporated the fiddle and made it, brought it into rock music presented maybe country music to people who wouldn't listen to it, that might have been more rockers. He presented it in a way that they really liked it, So,
Right.
he changed the book there on how things were done like that. And, I even to this day do The Devil Went Down to Georgia in my set.
Oh, wow. No kidding.
So there you go.
Very cool. Very
The
cool.
classics never die, and even thinking back a few minutes too about the whole, again, musicianship as it pertains to guitar players, and you just said it, Gino, that they make it. You folks make it look easy. I know it's not easy. I know it's not at all simple. But the Hendrixes of the world, the George Harrisons, the Eric Claptons, the Eddie Van Halens of the world, they just made it so amazing. Yet they looked as if it was, you guys make it look so effortless. You just do. And that, I think, is the beauty part of what all you do, because you're just working it out, man, doing your thing. And it's like breathing in and breathing out, man. It's second nature, and that, I think, is what also draws people into, wow, this guy's good. I gotta get more of the Pat McManus band. I gotta get more of this one. I gotta get more of that one. Um, and that's what does it, for me a lot. I mean, the music, of course, but just seeing it and feeling it and just noticing that, whew, you just make it look so easy. Thank you.
Well, I'm still like that when I hear players. I get the same feeling. I'm transported back to being a kid and hearing those players play like that for the first
Right.
time. So I still get excited when I hear other bands playing, other musicians playing like that. There, I mean, there's
Yeah.
people like Eric Johnson today who is just out of this world as players go. There's Joe Bonamassa.
Oh
There's
yeah.
Yes.
Wayne Shepherd. They're just, they're all different styles, but just all marvelous masters of their instrument. And
Yep.
they can get across the feeling that they're trying to convey to people. And I still go today, it still blows me away. I put on those records and I listen to those guys and I listen to Jeff Beck and I listen to
Yes.
Eric Clapton all the time. And you just think these guys were so far advanced,
Yeah.
at a time when it
Yeah.
wasn't possible to be that far advanced. They were light years ahead of everybody else. And just, even into the jazz rock fusion, you've got Santana, you've got John McLaughlin. These are guys that are just total masters of their instruments. And little humble me just try to pick the best of those bits and do what I did in the best way I could convey it.
Well, and mission accomplished, Pat. I mean, I have to say, I'm, again, with all of the current issues prohibiting a lot of moving around, shall we say. I'm looking forward to when hopefully you can come back stateside and
Yeah.
get something cooking, because yeah, I'd love to see it. I really would, live and in
Yeah,
living person.
we'd love to bring our brand of rock and roll, or Irish rock and roll, over to the States. It would be a dream come true for me again to come back over there, because I have some great memories of playing in America. As I said earlier, was very fortunate. We played with Rush, we played with Rats, we played with Twisted Sister, Blackfoot, right across the board. And
Wow.
it was a wonderful time for my band and great memories for me. So I'd like one more hurrah over in the States to have a go at, yeah, just before I retire, which I'll never do, but I say that.
Hey
But
Pat.
it'd be lovely to get over there, and I hope to do that, maybe
Yeah,
with this new album, get the opportunity to do at least a few shows.
Hey
that'd
Pat,
be
let's talk
nice.
about your new album now. This is the one that I believe our friend sent us. That's your music, and I'm going to be playing it on the radio station. After we're done the
Oh,
interview,
good.
somebody interviewing and stuff like that. And if you can do an intro for us, that'd be great too, because then you can introduce the songs that way. But tell us a little bit about the new album.
Well, the new album was it's called Full Service Resumed, and I did it pretty much, as I said, during the lockdown, and I had time to write the songs. There's only so many times you can decorate the house and wash the car, so I still find myself with time on my hands. So I decided I'm going to put this to good use, and I did, like many musicians did. It was, the downtime was quite good in that respect. Was the fact that I could actually concentrate and put the songs together. So I had some ideas already formulated, so it made me concentrate and finish those ideas off, and the result was the 10 new songs from the full service resumed album. And I took myself off to the studio, and we laid it down pretty quickly in about 10 days. I didn't waste any time at all. I knew what I was going to do before I went in. So, I like to try and capture the spirit of the band and the spirit of the idea. And I don't like to do it too many times, because I think then, I'd become bored with the track and it loses whatever excitement I thought it initially had. So I want to try and capture that. So it was a good opportunity to go in, lay them down as fast as we could, and, keep the feeling there. And hence the full service resumed album, which is going to be currently coming out in the next few days.
Beautiful. And could you give us some like tracks on there that you're pushing?
Oh, well, it's funny. I would probably pick tracks for all the wrong reasons.
But that's okay.
Because of some guitar part that I put down or did something, So one of the tracks that I really like is a track called Crystal Sky. It was a kind of a little homage to the early 60s and the psychedelic era, sorry. And it kind of leans towards that, and in the middle of the song it kind of switches tempos, and it does a little bit of that psychedelic thing, that Hendrix was so good at, and so many of the bands in that period of time was good at. So it's a little nod towards that, and that's one I'm particularly proud of. And I also like the song Doomsday Clock. It's a bit of a moral story there. I think that we should all take heed a little bit, with what's going on in the world today. So it wasn't entirely inspired by what was going on presently, but I've been beaten on about this for quite some time now, that that we are exhausting Mother Earth a little bit, and we've got to step back a little bit and help her. She's in trouble. So those two songs in particular, I particularly like the way they came out on the album.
Oh, wonderful. And now, do you have any siblings on the album? Your children? Any children?
Pardon?
Do you have any children?
Oh yeah, I have one daughter. Yeah.
And is she in music too, or no?
No. She's what should I say? She creates games for gamers.
Oh wow!
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, she lives in Edinburgh now, because that's where her work took her. But she's 26 years old now, and that's what she does for a living. They're currently working on a new game that hopefully will go global. I keep asking her, can I do the music? But she says, not yet, Dad.
Come on.
That would be awesome for you guys. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I go, come on, let me do something, it'd be really good for me. And she goes, you're a little bit inexperienced yet. I'll give you the nod when I think it's time. But no, she's a great, she's a great girl, and she's loving her work at the minute. But I suppose in many respects that's quite arty too, what she does, So,
yeah, sure.
Coming up with new characters and new ideas for games, I don't even know where you would start with that. It's kind of all alien to me that, while they're playing games, I tend to want to play the guitar instead.
Very, very cool. Yeah, John, do you have any more questions?
No, I was just going to say, as you were a few moments ago talking about all the opportunities over here with the various bands, Rush, Bon Jovi, Blackfoot, and so forth. About when would that have been? I'm curious.
That was it. That was 84 and 85.
84 and 85.
Wow, right on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we did extensive tours. Yeah. The tours would last 3 months, and we went right across America. From New York right down to California and everywhere in between. So, there's every possibility we were in your neck of the woods at some time or other,
I'm sure. Holy holy smokes, because again, that's about the time my college days, uh, when I was really discovering a lot more music, than I had been exposed to as a as a greasy little kid and a high school guy. It was always the top 40 music radio back then, and then once I got myself off to university, why it was, oh, this, oh, that, oh, something else, and that makes total sense. I was one because as you were mentioning a few of those bands, a lot of them. I mean, we all heard of Bon Jovi over here. Matter of fact, John Bon Jovi is from originally from two towns away from me, about not even 10 miles away. Um, Not that I know him or anything, but he's literally he grew up less than 10 miles away from where I'm sitting right now in New Jersey. But Blackfoot, I'd never heard of Blackfoot. What Blackfoot? What? It's an Indian tribe. Oh no, it's a great rock and southern rock band. You know, I had only dabbled in Rush, and then all of a sudden I really got to know them. So to for someone like you guys to have literally been right there, doing the whole thing with them, as you say, from New York to California and everything in between. Well, let me ask, what were some of the memorable moments of those times?
Oh man, there was so many, but
Yeah.
we were I think possibly, doing the Rush shows, we did them in New Haven, Connecticut. I vividly remember those, and we were already huge Rush fans, and just they were. I would say that those guys were just so awesome as musicians and so humble as musicians that we couldn't believe it. It was they were just regular guys, and man, did they rock! There was so many good memories, of playing throughout the rest of America with Rat, because those guys were super big at the time, and they
Oh
were
yeah.
a super band as well. And we all became, what I really value most of all was the fact that we became friends and lifelong friends.
Good.
I still get in touch with Warren D. Martini from Rat, and we still talk. So those are the memories that means the most to me. The shows were just totally awesome to be involved with all of that right across America. And some of the bands like Blackfoot and that, as I said, we grew up listening to those bands. When we discovered those bands, it was fantastic. But when we actually got to play them, we had to pinch ourselves occasionally just to say, is this really happening to us? These are the
Right.
bands we've seen on television playing from Germany or wherever, and from America live, and we're suddenly standing on the same stage as them. It was a wonderful moment for us and wonderful memories for us. There were so many standout memories that I'll never forget them. From me and my brothers, we were very fortunate to be on the road like that with those bands. So it's something I'll take to me to the grave. It's memories that I'll have for the rest of my life.
And it's interesting that you mention it like that because I read something earlier today about never mind the money. You can always go make money, but when it comes time to go home, so to speak, that's not what you're going to think of. You're going to think of all the great experiences, all the great people, all the great moments, and probably want to have a little more, even though it's time to go home. you, you're not going to think about the money, when it gets to that point, and to hear that
But
there's all
I
those
was just from the rock and
experiences.
roll band if it been about money. There was never any money.
No money. That is that is so true, Pat. That's what any type
People
of
say, what did you do with all the money? I say, what money? There was no
Oh,
money, and any money we did have was taken off it. So it
right.
wasn't about the money for me. It never was. I get up, I can still play today. I go to play, I go out and play, and I don't care if there's three people there, or 300, or 3,000, or
Right.
30,000. I still play the exact same way as if I was playing, to 150,000. It would make no odds to me. Money never was my motivation, funnily enough. It is to some people, but for me, it never was a motivation at all to I just want to make music and try and get and be the best possible musician I possibly can, and that may sound like it. Yes, of course, I have to live. Of course, everybody does,
Of
but
course.
what I'm saying to you is it never came down to that with me, and maybe if I was to look back at my career, maybe I should have been a little bit stricter and a little bit harder, on people and not be so easily swayed in different directions, and people take advantage, because they do take advantage of musicians.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sadly, the old musician can come, what we say, come a cropper. He misses out. But I can look back at my career and say, hey, I've managed to stay a musician, and for that I'm eternally grateful that I'm still allowed to play and still get out there and play to people, and make a living from it. To me, that's just the icing on the cake.
Well, and I have to say, again, having spoken, Docg and I, to several, in the music business here lately, the one pretty much the common denominator is, listen, it wasn't about the money, it was about the music. If there was some money that came along with it, so be it, but it was about the music. And that's when that you've got something good on your hands, when you're speaking with people like yourself, Pat. And I don't mean to blow sunshine up someplace, but it's the truth. When you speak to someone like yourself or some of the other cats that we've spoken to, uh, you've got a quality group. You've got some quality music coming your way when it's about that. And oh yeah, by the way, if we happen to get a few bucks here and there, so be it. Um, and that means a lot. I mean, I think it means a lot to a lot of people, and I don't know, you know, what your experience is on that, but I happen to think that kind of philosophy means a lot to a lot of us out here, no doubt.
Well, yeah, I mean, as I said, I can quite happily play to nobody. I can just, play to myself, and that to me is more than anything else in the wide world. Hey, if I get to go out and play in front of people, that's even an added bonus. It's just wonderful to put a smile on people's faces and to make friends. We make a lot of friends on the road, and they've been lifelong friends, that have remained with us. And you get to go to different places, to meet people, hear their experiences and their life experiences, and I just think it makes you a better all-round person, really. So for music to do that for me, I've been eternally grateful to be allowed to do that, and feel very humbled when people actually turn up and come to the shows. To me, that's that's the payoff there. It's when they actually come into the door, I go, yes, this is fantastic. So I'm always very humble. Without those people, there wouldn't be any musicians to go out on the road and play. At the end of the day, they're the people who come in to the venues and support the bands along the way. So we're always very mindful of that, and I'm always very respectful of that, because and if you can leave them, with a smile on their face for a couple of hours, and forget their troubles, well, then it's job done as far as I'm concerned.
I agree, and I think anybody worth half of their salt would agree as well. I well know that there are those out there in the entertainment business, whether it's music, whether it's sports, whether it's acting, whether it's what, who once they get a taste of a bigger than usual paycheck, then that becomes front seat. And you know what? The problem with that is 99 times out of 100, you can tell that all of a sudden they're phoning it in. So again, it's hugely appreciated to get to know and to watch and to enjoy somebody, like you and your mates who really enjoy the craft. And again, oh, by the way, if it helps to pay the bills, that's great too.
Awesome.
So, hey, Pat, before you go, we
Yeah.
definitely appreciate you being here.
And
Is there
how?
any way you can do an intro for us or a sweeper for the station? Just say who you are, any of the bands you're in, and you're listening to the Docg and John T show, Docg and John T presents show on Hamilton Radio. That's it.
Okay. Okay.
Whenever you're
Hi.
ready. Good.
Okay. Hi, I'm Pat Mcmanus from the Pat Mcmanus Band, and you're listening to Docg and John T on the Hamilton Radio Show. So keep the faith, folks, and keep on rocking.
Thank you, Pat. That was awesome.
Outstanding. Thank you, Pat. Big time.
Thank you for being
You're
here.
very welcome, and thank you guys for the time. I really enjoyed that.
Okay, we appreciate you. Good luck going forward, and remember, we'll be playing your music here. So anybody wants to request it, they can request it at hamiltonradio.net. Okay.
God bless you. Thank you very much, guys. It was a pleasure speaking to you.
Same here. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Great to meet you, pal.
Keep safe. Take care.
Stay safe. Stay well.
Rock on.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you.
Wow. Another great interview, John.
Just again, some quality people we've had a chance to interact with here, especially in the music industry. And, there goes another one. Before we had him on the phone, Doc, I have to say that, I nosed around and listened and became, a bit of a fan. After speaking with and hearing about all of it, I'm a fan, period. The Pat Mcmanus band, look them up. I mean, I saw that you had some of the website up there a little bit, flashing around, doing its thing. And you know what? The Pat Mcmanus band, just look it up. Look it up. It's literally, I'm looking right now. You forgive me, please. But yeah, look for the Pat Mcmanus band on Facebook and patmcmanus.co.uk. That is his website. That is the band's website. patmcmanus.co.uk, and that's where you'll find everything about them, along with the again, Pat Mcmanus band page on Facebook. And don't forget, the new album is called Full Service Resumed. Wherever you can buy your music, online, on location, Full Service Resumed by the Pat Mcmanus band. I'm thinking we're all going to really enjoy it, Gene.
I was kind of thinking, I always look for songs for the Halloween playlist.
Yeah.
And yeah, you got your average songs for Halloween playlist, but Crystal Lake, that song they need, Crystal Lake, that's on that album. I got to listen to that because that fits with the Friday the 13th realm. And Doomsday Rock. That's another song that I could probably put in the Halloween playlist and play it, along all the other stuff, like just a bunch of different things that I have.
Well, don't forget Sheb Woodley, the one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater. I'm just saying.
The novelty songs are there. They're Shaving Cream, Benny Bell. They're all there.
All nice and clean.
Nervous Norman. They're all there. They're coming to take me away. By Napoleon VIII. That's on there too. But they're all there. Hello, Mata Halafana is on there too. But
I agree.
I'm always looking for, and I tell people all the time, I'm always looking for new stuff to put there that's scary. Yeah. My cousin, and I'll just mention this real quick. My cousin, Sam Mazziala, who lives in Florida, did a song called Halloween Night. Now it's a little bit more kidsy, but it's still a cool song. So I play that. I play a lot of stuff like that. And, there's a lot of great stuff on there. You'll see a lot of my artists will reach out to me and they'll say something like, oh, thanks for playing my music. Thanks for being part of the thing. Well, that's what I do. This is why I do what I do, guys, because Hamilton Radio is a radio station that is everything in one. It's a college station. It's a music station. It's a helpful station. It's a request station. It's a whatever you want it to be station. A great workstation, by the way, and a great drive home station and a listen to at night station. Come on.
Home Magilla. I mean, you're out in the yard doing your thing on a Saturday. Turn that thing up, man. Bring your speaker out or put it through the truck, and open the doors and windows. Whatever, man. I mean,
request. Yeah. We got some great shows on there. We got many, many great shows on there. There's going to be more shows coming on. I was just reaching out to a couple of my friends, and I'm going to be putting some more of their shows on there.
Right.
So at night, you're going to be hearing a lot more stuff that you're not going to hear on media. But the music is going to be entirely, totally different. So, again, thanks for being here.
if you can feather in, people like, Pat Mcmanus, you know what I mean? Folks like, some of the other folks that we've
Doogie
spoken
White,
with.
Jimmy Waldo.
Yeah, hello. I mean, if you can feather them in, whether it's for a specific theme, Halloween, holidays, second Tuesday of the month, who knows? That's just icing on the cake. And I have to say, and at the risk of sounding redundant, again, I wanted to bone up on the Pat McManus band before we spoke with him, of course. And I again, after speaking with him, again, just like the other fellows, Jimmy Waldo, and um, um, oh, help me, the other fellow also from Ireland that we did first, Jimmy Waldo, and the first.
I can't think of his name.
You just said it like 6 seconds ago, but
Doogie White.
That's it, Doogie White. Good people involved with good music, involved with good bands, involved with good, worthwhile musical work. I'm a fan, Pat McManus band. I'm gonna, I'm in. I'm all in. And I'm glad we had a chance here on Docg and John T Presents to get more good quality musical entertainment and whomever people on to visit. Yeah. The only
And
thing would have been better if we would have been able to see him, but that's okay. It was great.
And soon, hopefully, we'll have Carmen Apici here, of course, and everybody knows him. I don't know if everybody knows where he's from, but he's from many, many bands. One is Rod Stewart Band,
Yep.
and many other bands with that in the 70s and 80s. So,
well, and like we said, there are so many people that you don't maybe know the name or don't, boy, that sounds familiar.
Yep.
But when you say, here's where they were involved with, who they were involved with, it's like, got it. You know the group. You maybe don't know all the specific pieces, parts, people who were part of the group. And this is what we like to do here on Docg and John T Presents.
Beautiful. Just like my buddy Vinny Zumo in New York, who was with the Joe Jackson Band, played bass guitar for many years.
The Joe Jackson Band.
Yep.
Did a cover of the song of his song "Time" when I was in the little fraternity band back in like '83 and '84. Love the Joe Jackson Band.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, buddy. We'll talk to you later, and we'll talk to you all soon. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks everybody for checking it out, whether it's one way or another. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and we don't know if Facebook is blocking us, but we did try to put it everywhere. We didn't get any comments or messages, but you can always comment and message on the Facebook page. I'll see it, even though it doesn't come up here because I'm looking at it on another computer. So everybody have a great night. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks so much.